What do you do then when you find a hadith, as we will in our subject of Akhir Zaman, which appears to be in conflict with the Quran? What do you do? Answer: you stay with the Quran until the contradiction can be resolved, if ever. But you never abandon the Quran in favor of hadith. One more word on methodology. Otherwise we're going to be here all night. We've spoken so far about not making the mistake of studying a verse standalone. We've spoken so far about the Quran sitting in judgment over the hadith and not vice versa. Now 1/3 part of methodology, and then we'll proceed further. In Surah Ali Imran of the Quran, Allah speaks and He says, Inna awwala baytin wudiya linnasi lalladhi bibakkata mubarakan wa hudan lil alamin. That the first house of worship to be established for the sake of mankind was that which was established in Bakkah. Blessed Bakkah, and established to function as guidance for mankind. Bakkah. Oh, but elsewhere in the Quran, Allah uses the more modern name, Makkah. By the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the old name of Bakkah was no longer used. The new name had replaced the old name. And so why? Nothing happens in the Quran by accident. Why has Allah, in this verse, returned to the old name? The name that Makkah had at the time of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Bakkah. In order for us to understand the Quran, we are now forced to go outside the Quran. We are forced to go outside of the Quran to understand the Quran. In this case, we are forced to go back to the old scriptures, the Torah. And when we do that, we then locate that those who did the rewriting of the Torah removed all references to Ibrahim alayhi salam going to Makkah. No, he never went there. Remove all references in the Torah to Ibrahim alayhi salam or Abraham building a temple or a masjid, the Kaaba. It no longer exists in the Torah. Remove all references to Ibrahim alayhi salam or Abraham establishing the pilgrimage to that house of worship, the Hajj. It's no longer in the Torah, it's disappeared. That Ibrahim alayhi salam took his wife, Hajar, and took the baby, Ismail alayhi salam. Took them there by divine command, not because Sarah put them out. By divine command, took them by camel. They didn't have Toyota Camrys in those days. To that barren valley. رَبَّنَا إِنِّي أَسْكَنْتُ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِ بِوَادٍ غَيْرِ ذِي زَرْعٍ عِنْدَ بَيْتِكَ الْمُحَرَّمِ رَبَّنَا لِيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ. He took them to Makkah. Zamzam was a spring which emerged in the valley of Makkah. But they cannot accept that. So they changed from Ismail and they put Ishaq. And they removed the location of the sacrifice where Ibrahim alayhi salam was ordered to sacrifice his son, or rather he saw in a dream and he thought it meant to sacrifice. That this no longer occurred in Arabia. No. It occurred in Palestine, in the Holy Land. And the son of the sacrifice was Ismail alayhi salam. And the sacrifice took place at the well. No longer a spring now, it's a well. At the well in Bakka. But they took out the shadda. And so when you take out the shadda, it becomes Bakka. And that is still in the Torah. So they left a footprint there. And with this one word in the Quran, Allah is directing us to go and do the research. And there's a book of mine here, The Religion of Abraham in the State of Israel, in which I have done that research to show all the changes made in the Torah. Now this is understanding the Quran by looking back in history. But the very first ayah I quoted indicated that sometimes to understand the Quran, you have to look ahead in history. You have to monitor events unfolding in the world. Unfortunately, this methodology has not been embraced. And as a consequence, they seem not to be able to penetrate Islamic eschatology. Now I want to apply this methodology to Akhir Zaman and show you some of the interesting results that come out of the Quran, and then we stop and have Tetarik, and then we have the question and answer session, inshallah. I want to take you to 3 verses of the Quran connected with Akhir Zaman and see what happens when we apply this methodology. The first verse is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Surah Al-Ma'idah. You know the numbering did not come down from Allah. We numbered it ourselves. So it should be no surprise to you. Sometimes it's called verse number 49 and another time called verse number 52. You don't have to send me an email. Sheikh Imran, you made a mistake there. No, the numbering didn't come from Allah. We made the numbering. So the numbers differ. The verse numbers, huh? بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا, O you who have faith in Allah, لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. We may have some Christians present here in this gathering tonight. Before you jump to judgment, just listen to the verse. Do not take, this is standalone. This is wrong methodology. My father is going to be annoyed with me now. Do not take the Jews, do not take the Christians as your friends and allies. بَعَدُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. They are friends and allies of each other. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. And whosoever turns to them with friendship and alliance, using the monetary system that they have given you, using the political system of the secular state that they have given you, using the blue jeans Jamaat that they have given you, etc. You belong to them. You no longer belong to us, you belong to them. So when you die, you will not be recognized as a Muslim. Inna Allah la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. And Allah does not provide guidance for people who commit zulm. So Christians and Jews commit zulm. Huh? You must be friends of Christians, and you should be friends of Jews. Huh? Oh my. Let us, shall we open the Quran and look, take a look? Oh, but the Quran says you can marry a Christian woman. Of course, except Malaysia. Anywhere else in the world of Islam, the Sharia. Sharia compliance, you can marry a Christian woman. So now you're going to have to tell her, you know, sweetheart, you can only be my wife, you can't be my friend. Sounds foolish, doesn't it? Sounds foolish, doesn't it? Come on, tell me. You know, sweetheart, you could only be my wife, you can't be my friend. What nonsense. What nonsense. Don't take Christians as your friends, but you could have a Christian wife. Huh? I skip all the other verses, skip them all. But let's go to this one in Surah Al-Ma'idah. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصْرُ. Now 1/3 part of methodology, and then we proceed further. In Surah Ali Imran of the Quran, Allah speaks and He says, إِنَّ أَوَّلَ بَيْتٍ وُدِيَ لِلنَّاسِ لَلَّذِي بِبَكَّةَ مُبَارَكًا وَهُدًى لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night. We've spoken so far about not making the mistake of studying a verse standalone. We've spoken so far about the Quran sitting in judgment over the Hadith and not vice versa. I mean, that the first house of worship to be established for the sake of mankind was that which was established in Makkah. Blessed Makkah. And established. What do you do then when you find a hadith, as we will in our subject of Akhir Zaman, which appears to be in conflict with the Quran? What do you do? Answer: you stay with the Quran until the contradiction can be resolved, if ever. But you never abandon the Quran in favor of Hadith. One more word on methodology.